Hello, my name is Jane Pierce. My business is Tarot Jane, and I'm here to talk to you about astrology. Specifically, I want to talk to you about Pluto. We have 5 slow-moving planets, and Pluto is the farthest out and the slowest moving of all of them. Pluto, like the myth it's named for, the god of the underworld, that which rules what is unseen, has so many ideas associated with it. As the Lord of the Underworld, Pluto represents the part of our personalities that are buried, things that are hidden or secret. It rules death and depth. It rules the phoenix energy where we crash and burn and then rise back up again, because we all know that secrets don't stay buried. And so Pluto represents those things that are hidden but may not stay hidden. The parts of us that we see from the movement under the ground, they are powerful and hard to name, or maybe more precisely, frequently taboo to discuss. Pluto was discovered in the 1930s, and just as Freud was identifying psychology and discovering an unconscious, Pluto came into our conscious awareness. And so Pluto rules a lot of that unconscious power in ourselves. Some people claim Pluto to be the planet, whether or not it's really a planet, that rules psychology. How do I understand myself? Not on the surface, but deep in myself. Depth psychology and psychology in general embodies this Plutonian energy of being affected by things we can't see, memories we've buried, experiences, power struggles, and hidden dynamics. That energy of Pluto informs us and confuses us and challenges us to better know ourselves. Pluto is the planet that we have demoted out of being a real planet. And so we find in all of these places the same psychological energy of what is it really? What does it appear to be? A planet, an asteroid? And what is it actually? I think Pluto is a force that all of us feel, and it is a power that we have to look at how we're using. Pluto is intimately connected with power, not necessarily obvious power, though, because the most potent power is power we don't even realize is exerting an influence, power we can't fight because we can't see. Pluto is part of the underworld, and the ground that we stand on rules the wealth that is buried in our earth, rules the foundations that our very world is built on, that our banking system is built on. Since Pluto has been in Capricorn, we've faced tremendous amounts of banking upset, foundational issues with housing and finance, because Pluto exposes what isn't as solid underground. What weakness did we build on? Now, Pluto exists in everybody's chart. It is only in the last 15 years that it's been in Capricorn, but we all have a different way of approaching those hidden areas, a different way of dealing with secrets and things that are buried. And Pluto calls us to look at those. Pluto believes deeply in that in order to be psychologically healthy, you have to know not only who you are on the surface, but who you are deep inside yourself. It appears in your chart and challenges you to face secrets, face the underworld, whether that's depth or death, or that's the criminal element that lives out of the light. That underworld mob boss or that buried secret is present and so full of potential power that we can only tap if we can figure out it's there and get our hands on it. So where you have Pluto in your chart, I invite you to look at the mysteries of life and death, the mysteries of hidden power, the unseen but so significant parts of yourself and of our culture. Because of course our country also has Pluto in its birth chart. And Pluto in its birth chart for the US was in Capricorn. And as Pluto has returned back to the same spot, we've recently had to reface or readdress what were the foundations of the founding of America, of democracy, of wealth, of banking, of housing, all of these things that are so controlled by hidden forces and power that is so difficult to acknowledge. And as we do that work, we're doing it in a way that no other culture has ever done before, because never before 1930, when we discovered Pluto and psychology, have we really understood the depth of this human being, how our unconscious forces or subconscious forces have affected what we do. Certainly there has been hidden power in every structure and every culture, but never before have we been as conscious of facing it. And never before, through a quirk of astronomy, have we had so long to deal with it. The planet just before Pluto is Neptune, and Neptune represents primordial chaos, the waters of birth, mysticism, the madness, and deep meaning that comes from believing things that can't be proven. If psychology is ruled by Pluto, spirituality is ruled by Neptune, the visions, and so easily the unhealthy part of each can come up. But we've been challenged more than ever any other culture to look at that relationship between spirituality and psychology. You see, Neptune and Pluto are in a sextile, which is a fancy way of saying they're about 60 degrees apart. Usually planets, even slow-moving planets like Pluto and Neptune, spend a couple years, maybe 5 or 10, being close enough in their relationship to each other that we could have an angle where they work together. But through a quirk of astronomy, Pluto and Neptune have been between 55 and 65 degrees apart for over 100 years. Specifically, in the mid-1930s, Pluto was discovered, Neptune was in that sextile that I was just mentioning. And that means that we're being asked to work with psychology and spirituality together. But we would expect that, like other planets, to have a 5 or 10 year range and then to move on. But this quirk of astronomy says that's not what's happening. You see, Neptune is big enough with its gravitational pull to affect how Pluto works, how its elliptic moves through the sky. And so, since the mid-1930s and until the mid-2040s, Neptune and Pluto will be fairly close together. As a matter of fact, except for the time period between 2000 and 2015, when Pluto and Neptune were about 5 to 10 degrees off their sextile, they've been between 55 and 65 degrees apart, meaning they're being forced to work together. And forcing them to work together, whether it's 10 degrees apart or 5, has had profound impacts on all of us. Before the invention of psychology, nobody thought that you had to have a healthy psychology to have a healthy spirituality, or to have a healthy spirituality to have a healthy psychology. But over the last nearly 100 years, and over 100 years by the time this period ends, we will have spent time as a culture looking at what hidden parts of our psychology get in the way of what we believe. The Pluto psychology, subconscious, hidden aspects are being brought to consciousness through our spirituality and our mysticism that Neptune represents. And as these work together, not for 5 or 10 years, but over 100, as a whole community all around the world, we are facing these new truths. Nobody before the 1900s would ever have thought you had to be psychologically healthy to be a spiritual person or to be a religious person. As a matter of fact, we often looked at spirituality and ignored the idea of the human meaning altogether. But now we're asked to bring them into relationship. These two things keep pulling together because a sextile or 60-degree angle is an attractive angle. Kind of like sex is in the word sextile. There's an attraction for any planets that are sextile each other. And I'm going to invite you to use that silly mnemonic to say, okay, so what's the attraction between spirituality and psychology? Well, hopefully it's good. Hopefully it means that you become more aware of the meaning and the greater place you have in the world because of Neptune's spirituality. And you place yourself in a more healthy relationship with your own limits because you have a healthy psychology. Unfortunately, there's not only good things. Neptune and its less positive aspects, instead of spirituality, is delusion, belief, or addiction, losing yourself in alcohol and the waters and the muddiness and the madness that is Neptune, and that can be spirituality taken too far. That energy is also gripping us. That energy of addiction, that energy of belief that ignores the facts is also what's come to heal or harm our psychological states as we struggle with this relationship between the vagueness of Neptune and the personal hidden realms that Pluto represents. So I invite you to go look in your chart. You'll find a sextile between Pluto and Neptune, but what sign they are in and what their relationships are with other planets will have a big impact on how you express your spirituality and how you can best find a way to uncover the hidden depths in your psychology. If you find this as fascinating as I do, please reach out. I'll come back and I'll talk more about Neptune and Pluto and where they are in the sky right now. And you'll find another video that talks more deeply about Neptune, as well as Saturn and all of the other planets in the sky. Here's a little idea to just stir things up today. And I hope this stirring up brings you to a place of greater hope and a greater self-awareness that Neptune and Pluto working together bring out the best in both areas of your life. Have a wonderful day.